With WrestleMania 37 right around the corner, Vince McMahon has now decided to change the main event from Roman Reigns versus Edge to now include Daniel Bryan, making it a triple threat match. Anybody could come up with any guesses, any logical guesses, any illogical guesses as to why Vince McMahon does anything, but there is one big reason why this match was changed from a one-on-one match to a triple threat match. And if you guys paid attention to my SmackDown post-show just a week ago, you will already know the answer to that very question. Why did Vince McMahon all of a sudden decide to change that match and that match alone at WrestleMania? The answer is very simple, folks. We're going to go over what that reason is today on Off the Script. Where is Keith Lee? Keith Lee's name is being brought up a lot. People are wondering why he is not included in WrestleMania plans. Keith Lee was once a promising superstar. Big things in store for Keith Lee, now seemingly buried on the main roster. Where is he? I have news and the truth onto where Keith Lee really is in WWE and why he is not a part of WrestleMania 37 season, and what WWE's mindset is with Randy Orton and The Fiend, the burned Fiend, Bray Wyatt. Who's the heel? Who's the babyface in WWE's eyes? When I explain it to you, none of it is going to make any sense whatsoever. This is episode 370 right here on Off the Script. What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. This is episode 370, and this is for Saturday, March 26th, 2021. We are just 3 weeks away from WrestleMania 37, and I got some major news as it pertains to the big match that everybody is waiting for. Roman Reigns, Edge, and now Daniel Bryan. Triple threat match for the Universal Championship. I've been mentioning on my live streams, on my post shows, that I think Edge is the third wheel. Nobody understood why I wanted Daniel Bryan in the main event of WrestleMania. Nobody understood why I didn't want Edge in the main event of WrestleMania. Now, it's all coming full circle, folks. And once again, I love being right. All I will say is this: never doubt what I am watching on a Monday or Friday night. If you don't agree with me, that's fine, but never knock my intelligence and never tell me that I don't know what I'm watching, man. We're going to go over that news immediately when we get into the WrestleMania portion of the show right here on episode 370. Also, news on Charlie Caruso. She is now gone from WWE. She is no longer going to be a part of World Wrestling Entertainment. I also got news on WWE moving out of Tropicana Field. Where are they going? Bella Twins on their way back to the WWE. I don't think you or I really give a shit about that one. And Peacock is reviewing so many hours of WWE content. Over 17,000 hours of WWE content. And they are now censoring a lot of that 17,000 hours. My thoughts on that. And the real reason why Hulk Hogan and Titus O'Neil were paired together to host WrestleMania 37. The outlandish reason today on OTS. Follow me on Twitter, man. At JDfromNY206. That's Twitter and Instagram. While you're at it, go and follow Critiques and Connoisseurs on Twitter. Everything you need for both of those Twitter accounts are linked down below in the description of this very video. Today, I was very proud. Me and Hodge uploaded episode number 5. It is now live on the official Critiques and Connoisseurs YouTube channel. We talk about the blueprint, Sasha Banks, while we drink a $500 bottle of Casa Dragones tequila. Sasha Banks' favorite cold beverage is a nice tequila on the rocks. How do I know that? Don't worry. Don't worry how I know that, man. So go and check that out. Link for CNC is down below in the description. If you guys want to support the podcast, there are a variety of ways to do that. Number one, Patreon, patreon.com/JDfromNY206. Thank you to all who have signed up for the Patreon page. I love you all. Thank you to everybody that is a part of my Discord as well. You get instant access when you sign up through the Patreon page. Thank you to everybody hanging out and having a good time and being friendly with each other, talking wrestling in the Off the Script Discord. Make sure you guys go and hit that subscribe button as well. Turn on that bell for all notifications. If you enjoy anything on this particular episode of Off the Script, please hit that thumbs up. Helps out the video in the long run. If you guys are on iTunes, Spotify, and all that stuff, audio, you guys can leave me a 5-star review and a comment. That also helps out the content on the audio platform side of things. If you guys want your t-shirts, bonfire.com is the exclusive home of JD from New York and Off the Script. And today's show is sponsored by my great friends over at Advanced GG, man. I love me some Advanced GG. The world's most advanced gaming and esports supplements is Advanced GG. All you guys have to do is go to their official website. We'll talk about them a little bit later. You're going to use code SCRIPT and save 10% off their delicious, and I mean delicious, supplements that work wonders for me. People who don't sleep, man, people who love to game, people who podcast like I do. If you guys need a nice pick-me-up, Advanced GG is where it's at. All natural form of caffeine. I use it every time I record. I use it every time I go live, whether I'm on Twitch and YouTube. It works wonders for me, man. And like I said, it is absolutely delicious. I am so proud that they are a part of the Off the Script family. That is advanced.gg. You guys are going to use code SCRIPT at checkout to save yourself 10% off any of their merchandise and mixing bottles, man. Awesome stuff there. Let's go right to the top, man. Start minor and then hit the Edge news and get into the WrestleMania news. WWE, they announced a move from Tropicana Field this past week. If you guys were not on social media and you didn't pay attention to WWE social media platforms, you might have missed this news. WWE must leave Tropicana Field by the first week of April because the ballpark is going to be needed for the Tampa Bay Rays home games. They must move to a new location, but they're not going that far. Ringside News exclusively reported that WWE landed on Tampa's Yuengling Center as the new home of the WWE Thunderdome. The company sent out a press release to confirm this move. They also hyped the possibilities in their new home, the former Sun Dome. This will continue the company's long-standing partnership with the state of Florida, a state that declared pro wrestling as an essential service last year, and everything is pretty much wide open in the state of Florida. The move to the Yuengling Center continues WWE's long-standing relationship with the state of Florida and marks the next phase of WWE Thunderdome, which launched to critical acclaim. I'm still wondering where this critical acclaim comes from that they mention every single week. Award-winning, critically acclaimed, yada, yada, yada. I haven't heard it from anybody. It's the same shit. Get the fuck out. I want normal. Last August at the Amway Center in Orlando, and that has continued over the past 4 months at Tropicana Field in Tampa. Man, it's been that long already. Seems like they just got there. And now the Yuengling Center sits on the campus of one of Florida's largest universities, the University of South Florida. We will see how long WWE plans to stay in this new location. The COVID-19 pandemic obviously caused the company to cease all of their touring dates, taking Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown on the road. Hopefully, they will be able to start thinking about taking the show on the road once again with the Yuengling Center hopefully being the last stop for the Thunderdome. And then after this, WWE can get back out there on the road. Nothing is going to look drastically different, folks. The Amway Center looked the same as the Tropicana Field setup, and the Tropicana Field setup is probably going to be the same that you're going to be seeing inside the Yuengling Center. But like I said, I hope that this is the light at the end of the tunnel. WWE has fans at WrestleMania. Hopefully this is the steps in the right direction to maybe do this a little bit more regularly. I know WWE wants to be careful with everything, but I hope that this is the final stop for the Thunderdome and we can get back out there as we get closer to SummerSlam, because I believe this is used for college football, if I'm not mistaken. So college football probably starts around the beginning of the fall. Hopefully when we get into SummerSlam, WWE at that point will begin touring around the United States and things in the States will be a little bit more normal, but they are moving. So if you guys are wondering what's happening with that, with the start of the MLB season, that's the news on WWE moving from Tropicana Field into the Yuengling Center, and that is the University of South Florida. Charlie Caruso, gone from WWE. I was a fan of Charlie Caruso, not a fan, but a fan of her work, because if you guys looked at what WWE did have backstage, Charlie Caruso and Kayla Braxton were the only two women backstage in WWE that had any type of personality besides Renee Young when she was there. Now Renee Young is not there anymore, and now Charlie Caruso is gone. That leaves Kayla Braxton, so I don't know what's going on with who they have operating the backstage duties. We got to get used to a couple of new names and a couple of new faces now that Charlie is gone from the WWE. In the latest Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer has reported that not only is Charlie Caruso no longer appearing on WWE television, but the backstage interview is now actually gone from World Wrestling Entertainment. Meltzer notes that Kevin Patrick was brought in as a direct replacement for Charlie Caruso. Patrick will be the host of Raw Talk, as if anybody really watched Raw Talk anyway, with Charlie Caruso there. Who's going to watch it with Kevin Patrick there? The host of Raw Talk will be Kevin Patrick, as well as a backstage interviewer for Monday Night Raw. I don't envy Kevin Patrick. Charlie Caruso, real name Charlie Arnold, 33 years old, gone from the company. There have been conflicting reports, some that she was fired, and others that were stating that she simply won't be used until the expiration of her contract. She was replaced by Kevin Egan, who is known on WWE TV as Kevin Patrick, in the role of backstage interviewer and host of Raw Talk. This all stems from the reports that Charlie Caruso had heat within WWE for turning up late backstage to certain segments which involved Sheamus and Randy Orton. And Charlie Caruso's longtime friends, if you guys didn't know, with All Elite Wrestling president Tony Khan. And now it is speculated that Charlie Caruso could end up making her way over to AEW in the coming months. Now, I didn't know that little piece of information. It's all going to be up to her to see if she wants to do wrestling again. I don't know. Tony Khan can be quite persuasive, but they got Dasha Fuentes backstage, and she does a decent job backstage. Not a big fan of Alex Marvez. I don't think anybody wants to look at Alex Marvez. I don't think anybody would rather look at Alex Marvez over Charlie Caruso if you're a viewing member of the audience. So I guess it makes perfect sense to sign her, to get her in a backstage role. Clearly, she knows what she's doing. She has personality. I'm sure she would have more personality in WWE. She would be able, in AEW rather than in WWE. She would be able to do a little bit more than what WWE allowed her to do. She might be a little bit more handcuff-free in AEW, but it's all going to be on her end if she still wants to do professional wrestling mixed with the ESPN aspect that she does on ESPN, covering NFL football and all other major sports. But Caruso, I said this last week when I talked about this rumor when it was just a rumor. Sheamus and Randy Orton have long-standing rapport backstage in WWE. Now, I don't know what happened there. Maybe they got so angry and pissed off that she was late to their segments, and they went to go complain to Vince McMahon. And if Vince McMahon hears that from two long-standing seniority members of the WWE roster, he might have taken this from both of those guys as an urgent matter, because if they're complaining about something, then it must be something important to them. And in Vince's eyes, if it's important to them, it should be important to him. I don't know. I don't know what happened there, what the issue was there. I don't know if Charlie really gives a shit in the end. She's going to be fine on her own. But if you guys enjoyed Charlie Caruso on WWE TV, you're going to have to wipe the tears, get the Kleenex, and hunker down. You ain't going to be seeing Charlie Caruso on WWE TV anymore. Get used to Kevin Patrick on Monday Night Raw. Oh, joy. Oh, joy. When Charlie Caruso, one goes, we're getting the Bella Twins in return. I don't know at this point I would trade a Charlie Caruso for a Nikki and Brie Bella. But what I mean is the Bella Twins are planning to make a return to WWE in-ring action. Oh, great. Oh, great, man. I can't wait. I can't wait. Whoever said we needed the Bella Twins to be back on Monday or Friday night. I don't think anybody really means when they say that. What are we doing? What are we doing by bringing the Bella Twins back to WWE TV? You're only masking problems that are already existing. That's the way I see it. The Bella Twins are slated to be inducted as part of the 2020 Hall of Fame class during WrestleMania weekend or WrestleMania week. This year's WWE Hall of Fame ceremony will feature both the 2020 class and the 2021 class. Turns out that Brie and Nikki Bella are also planning to make a comeback in the near future. Oh, yeah, great, man. I can't wait. Let me break out the fucking champagne. While discussing the WWE Hall of Fame during this week's Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer noted that they have plans to return likely in the fall, but no date has been set in stone just yet. He says, and I quote, "They're coming back to wrestle pretty soon. I don't know exactly when, but they're coming back to wrestle. They're planning on coming back. I think it is in the fall." End quote. Both stars have made it known that they would like to return, especially because they want to challenge for the women's tag team championships. Great. Great. As if we don't have enough fucking problems with the women's tag team titles. Now we want to give it to the Bella Twins. I'll talk about that in a second. Last November, Nikki and Brie Bella expressed interest in wrestling Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. No thank you, no thank you. Who just so happened to be the current WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. The Bella Twins gave birth to their two sons last summer. Now, I get legends wanting to return to close out the final chapter of their wrestling career. I understand it. We're seeing it more and more. The technology and the advancements in the medical field that probably wouldn't have allowed Nikki Bella to return with the neck injury that she has are vastly different than when she was around back when she was still an active wrestling performer in WWE. But I don't know what this does as far as the women's tag team division, the non-existent women's tag team division. What exactly are you doing here? How exactly is this going to up the ante for the women's tag team division? First of all, there is no division because there are no actual teams in the division. All the actual teams that were in the division, you ended up breaking up. There's no need for women's tag team championships. There's no need for NXT women's tag team championships. You could have had the women's tag team championships that are currently held by Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. You could have them dropped to an NXT team, and you could have used those titles on NXT so you wouldn't have to go out there and create more championships. The more championships you create, the less value the current championships have. How much value do you think the women's tag team championships had before the creation of the NXT Women's Championship? Barely any. Now that the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships are created, how much value do those women's tag team championships held by Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler have now? Zero. Zero. Because if I'm a woman, which titles am I going to go for? Which titles would I rather go for? Which division would you rather go and compete in? A division that doesn't exist or a division in NXT that is creating the future of women's wrestling in WWE? I think the answer is very simple, folks. So what exactly does Nikki and Brie Bella add to an already dead, and I mean dead, women's tag team division? You might as well say women's division because they both suck on Monday and Friday. And what exactly are they going to do? You're going to give them the tag team. You know if they come back, they're winning the tag team championships. They're not coming back to lose They want the titles. There's no better team to give the titles to, right? They're the only actual tag team besides the Riot Squad and Sasha and Bayley that ever existed on the main roster for the women's tag team division. Or the Bella Twins. Are they coming back to lose and not get the tag team titles? I don't think so. But what happens when that happens? What happens when they come back and they win the tag team championships? Is all flowers and sunshine about to happen? Do you think the division now is fixed because the titles are on the Bella Twins, legends, an actual tag team? What happens then? Is WWE going to do the right thing? Is WWE going to use the Legend Hall of Fame status of the Bella Twins to have them hold the championships for a little bit? Who they defend against, I don't fucking know. Hold those titles for a little bit and use the Bella Twins with the tag team championships to put over a younger team, Riot Squad. Or someone that you may want to call up from NXT. Is that what you're going to do? Or is this just another political agenda being issued by WWE because they all love Brie and Nikki Bella? And no plans are in place for anybody or the titles. This is why I hate the women's tag team championships, man. They are fucking worthless. Worthless. Soon as Sasha and Bayley lost those titles to the Iconics, they were dead as anything I've ever talked about on this show. I could not give a single shit. Now, if Nia and Shayna lost those tag team titles to Raquel and Dakota Kai on NXT, then I'd have a different outlook on things. That didn't happen. Now those titles that are held by Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are just as worthless as anything else on Monday night. Nobody gives a shit. And the Bella Twins coming back is not going to do anything. It's not going to be a ratings boost. It's not going to be a championship boost for the women's division. There is no division. You can't bring in the Bella Twins expecting things to change. Enough of these Band-Aid solutions. Enough. Been crying about this for fucking 3 years now. Nothing works. Nothing works. And WWE doesn't give a shit, and they refuse to acknowledge what the fuck is going on. Either get rid of them or merge the fucking divisions. One or the other. This is nothing but a Band-Aid fucking solution. And people are going to go crazy because Nikki and Brie Bella are back. Great. Great. Stay home and be a mother. Nobody needs you. Show doesn't need you. The division doesn't need you. The championships don't need you. You're retired. What don't you understand about the word retired? Moving on. Peacock. They're acting like a bunch of cocks. 17,000 hours of WWE Network content under review. That's great. I'm paying for something that they're actively just siphoning offensive content out. Awesome. Awesome. I'm paying, what, $9.99 for what? For what? For you to take out all the shit that I may want to go back and watch that I have an opportunity to go and watch now, but the network's moving to Peacock? WWE's moving their content over to Peacock. The fans have already noticed a couple of moments that did not make the transfer. Those segments were cut because they don't mesh with WWE's political climate in 2021. Peacock is making sure that WWE knows about all the content that hits the cutting room floor. The Wrestling Observer newsletter noted that Peacock wants to provide a family-friendly service. That likely means that a number of shows might get edited. The streaming service is already missing several episodes of Raw. Which episodes of Raw that are missing, I have no fucking idea. Like, I'm going to go back and watch Raw episodes, man. I would have to be at the bottom of the fucking barrel depressed to go back and watch Monday Night Raw, man. They have also edited the other programming on the network, such as Saturday Night Live replays, for some unknown reason. Peacock is pushing itself as a family-friendly service, and anything that doesn't meet standards will be edited out. Number of Raw episodes, like I mentioned, from past years are not uploaded. A lot of other television shows, Saturday Night Live has tons of edits from the original show based on things that were considered funny at the time, but would be considered poor taste at this time. Music might also play a factor into this. Peacock editing shows on the network. Saturday Night Live episodes have often had musical performances edited out because they don't own the rights for those songs. So we'll have to see if any WWE content gets edited out for that exact reason. So far, it seems that the only edits to WWE content have been made because they were politically incorrect. The Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that Peacock anticipates to have a live pause, restart, and scrub bar previews installed by SummerSlam. That is also about the same time that they expect to have WWE Network's 17,000 plus hours of content available after they have already reviewed it. Now, I see people making a big deal about this online, one way or another. You should not be surprised that this is happening. You shouldn't be surprised. And I don't know why it bothers you so much. The first thing that I mentioned was the fact that they want to be more family friendly and that they're editing shows that might be deemed offensive. The first thing that I read was a Roddy Piper promo and a match against Junkyard Dog. I believe it was with Piper and him coloring his face black. Half of his face was in black face paint. The other half was in white. Junkyard Dog, after all these years, said that he didn't really care for the angle. He didn't really give a shit about the angle. He knew as time went on that it was going to be a problem. But at the time, he said, whatever, let Piper do what he's got to do to sell the match and make the match a little bit more interesting and generate hype for the match. So he let Piper do whatever he wanted to do for that particular match, that particular interview segment. But I'm not surprised that this is happening, really. And I doubt anybody's going to go back and watch that match in particular or that WrestleMania in particular. I mean, how often are you going to go back and watch old WrestleManias, 1 through 5, 1 through 6? I mean, it's one of those things where you just do on a whim after you haven't watched it for about, 15 years. God knows how long I haven't watched Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan for WrestleMania 6. I think the last time that I even watched highlights of the match were to do research for when Hodge and I did critiques and connoisseurs on the Ultimate Warrior Red Zinfandel wine sold by WWE Shop. I had to go and watch highlights of that match. I didn't watch the whole fucking show. Why would I? Why would I? Does anybody have that time to go and rewatch all these different WrestleManias to pick out, hey man, this isn't in the new version on Peacock. Where did it go? Why was it taken out? Why was this omitted? Why was this censored? I don't give a shit. How often do you go back and watch a Monday Night Raw from 1998? June whatever, 1998. Really? You're going to be that anal about what's on the WWE Network? You're bullshitting me. You're bullshitting me. The only reason why we have the network is for TakeOver and the pay-per-views that are coming up. Or Peacock now. Guess I gotta say Peacock and not WWE Network. The only reason why we're signing up for Peacock is for the live documentary series that they do with Steve Austin and all that type of stuff, WWE 24. That's the stuff that everybody really loves. The older stuff is just there as a bonus. The older stuff is just there for your pleasure when you want to go back and watch. Maybe an anniversary's coming up. You want to go back and watch a certain match. Maybe the Royal Rumble is coming up in January and you want to go back and watch an older Royal Rumble to kind of, just reconfirm that, hey, man, I love this Royal Rumble. This was what I watched back in the day. This was my favorite Rumble. They don't do Rumbles like this anymore, or a SummerSlam, or a WrestleMania, or a Survivor Series. I went back and watched the 1993 Survivor Series quite often because it's one of my favorite Survivor Series. It's the last one with Bobby Heenan. And then you got the Foreign Fanatics versus the Old Americans, Undertaker, Yokozuna right before that casket match. Classic stuff, man. It's classic stuff. But you cannot be upset that Peacock is omitting certain things. What did you expect? Half the Attitude Era is going to go missing. ECW, who the fuck knows what they're going to do to ECW with violence on women, the blood, the cursing. Half of ECW's catalog might be omitted from fucking Peacock. And yeah, it is annoying. I've watched ECW events where you see the Sandman come out and they don't have Enter Sandman playing. They got some generic fucking god-awful music playing for him. Kills the whole vibe. It kills the whole vibe of the actual live show that you remember back in the day. I'm not upset about that. I understand it. So there's no reason to be upset. You knew this was going to happen. It's just the way of the world, man. Just the way of the world. I am not for changing whatever happened, happened. I'm not for changing what happened. I'm not for changing history. It's not what I would like to do. But I understand the racial slurs and the racial things. Take them out. That I'm okay with. But like the cursing and all this blood and the shit with the women, violence on women during WWE's Attitude Era, will that be omitted? That's the reason why we all fell in love with the Attitude Era. You can't take that shit out. What's done is done. Use it as a benchmark for you just getting better and maturing. It's not what the WWE product is about now. You shouldn't go out there and actively change history because you don't agree with it or you don't believe with what you're watching in 2021. It happened. Let it be. They don't do that type of thing anymore. But nobody should be surprised by Peacock reviewing 17,000 hours of WWE content. It's not going to bother me. It's not going to bother you. It shouldn't bother you. Big name to be inducted into this year's WWE Hall of Fame class. Fightful reported some news on Tuesday. ECW, WWE, WCW, and TNA veterans join Eric Bischoff and Molly Holly. This is Rob Van Dam. Veteran, not veterans. He's a veteran of pretty much every promotion under the sun. He joins Eric Bischoff and Molly Holly in the 2021 class, and deservedly so. I'm surprised it took him this long to get into the Hall of Fame. Guy should have already been in about 3-4 years ago. He's been out of the WWE for the last few years, as his last run came in 2014. RVD previously stated that he would make a return to WWE if the money and schedule are right. No, thank you. I don't want to see him wrestle anymore. He's not the same RVD that I fell in love with back when he was there the first time, or in ECW. He has dealt with a history of suffering concussions in the past, which was covered in a documentary. His latest run with a big company saw him take his talents to Impact Wrestling from 2019 on into 2020. It's already been confirmed that it will be featured on an episode of the WWE Icons documentary series. While with WWE, he's a Grand Slam champion as he's held the WWE title, Intercontinental title, European title, tag team titles, and hardcore titles. Hall of Fame worthy, no question. Speaking of RVD, like I said, it took way too long. He should have been in there about 3-4 years ago. And if you really look at several wrestlers, not just in WWE, if you look at several wrestlers in the industry today, a lot of those people, I would not be shocked if they took influence from RVD. RVD's influence is seen and felt all over the industry in 2021. And when he is no longer with us, it's still going to be felt in the wrestling industry. That's how big of an influence he is. A lot of people getting into the wrestling business when they looked at RVD wanted to be like RVD. He was really unlike anything we've seen before. He did it all. He could wrestle. He could go hardcore. He could do aerial better than anybody. He was just cool. And everybody definitely looked at RVD and still does as an influence today. His influence spans generations, and that's more than enough to put him inside the Hall of Fame. Never mind the championships and the accolades and who he's worked for and how many years he's given the business. The influence in his body of work, in his in-ring ability, is going to be felt for decades, generations to come. That's why he should be in the Hall of Fame. Don't know why it took this long. Great Khali. Yes, I know. I'm throwing a fucking big bash for the Great Khali getting into the Hall of Fame. Great Khali! WWE India reports that the Great Khali will be inducted into this year's Hall of Fame ceremony. He will join Molly Holly, RVD, Eric Bischoff, and Kane. Kane is going in to the Hall of Fame, rightfully so. Seriously, WWE inducting Kane. I don't think anybody has a problem with that, man. Great Khali's last match for WWE. Greatest Royal Rumble in 2018. I wasn't even aware he was in the Greatest Royal Rumble. That's how irrelevant Great Khali is to me. That's 3 years ago, folks. 3 years ago. Prior to that, his last singles match in WWE was October 2014 against Damien Sandow. Great. This is a big induction that will certainly make many, many fans around the world happy. There will be two classes, 2020 and 2021, that will be inducted. The ceremony will take place on Tuesday, April 6th. Great Khali! Give me a break, man. Did the Great Khali do anything to even warrant a Hall of Fame induction? Seriously. It's like inducting Donald Trump or Kid Rock or fucking Will Ferrell or Drew Carey into the Hall of Fame. Are you fucking serious? The Great Khali. Now listen, I don't know this for sure. But I honestly think that WWE only put the Great Khali in the Hall of Fame, not because he is a Hall of Fame-worthy talent, which we all know he's not, but the only reason why they put him in the Hall of Fame is because Batista removed himself from the situation, and I'll go over why he removed himself from that situation to begin with. But I don't think there's a better guy to induct in the middle of a pandemic when the Hall of Fame ceremony is going mostly virtual and there'll be no fans there and they need people to induct to fill television time on Peacock for the Hall of Fame. Just get the Great Khali in there. Guy's probably not going to even utter one sentence. And goodbye. Goodbye. You'll see highlights that'll probably make your skin crawl. He'll say, and then leave the stage. They just need names. In a virtual Hall of Fame year, they don't want big names. Khali's not a big name. So they're just putting him in there to fill a fucking void that they don't want to waste on somebody a little bit more notable. Simple. Great. Can't wait to not watch the Great Khali, man. When the Great Khali, I might watch, but when the Great Khali comes out, I'll be on my way to the bathroom. Dave Batista, he was supposed to be in, but he explains why he pulled himself out of the Hall of Fame ceremony this year. Now, fans will have to wait at least one more year to see Dave Bautista inducted into the Hall of Fame. He was removed from the list of inductees on WWE.com. It was later confirmed that the scheduling conflict was the reason why he was removed. Batista was supposed to be inducted in 2020, but that ceremony was rescheduled for this year because of the pandemic. Both 2020 and 2021 will be inducted on the same night. Batista noted on Twitter that personal obligations are keeping him from being inducted, but he and the WWE have agreed that it will be inducted at a future ceremony where he could properly thank the fans. They pretty much gave you the reason why he's omitting himself by coming up with bullshit lies on top of that. Personal conflict, scheduling conflict, give me a break. Batista doesn't want the same thing that happened this year to happen to him this year. Give me a break. There was no fans when he was about to be inducted last year. Same thing is happening this year. He knows that. Oh, there's no fans? Listen, hold off on me until you get fans back in the fucking venue. That's all that is. And they just told you that by coming up with bullshit lies. He wants to be inducted where he can properly thank the fans. He can't do that if he's not thanking fans in person. Give me a break. Batista tweeted, and I quote, "To the WWE Universe, unfortunately, due to previous obligations, I am unable to be a part of WWE's Hall of Fame this year. By my request, they have agreed to induct me in a future ceremony where I'll be able to thank fans properly and the people who made my career possible." And then he uses a prayer emoji and uses a hashtag of Dream Chaser. Whatever that means. Whether it's his new movie or new film project, who the fuck knows? He doesn't want to be a part of a virtual WWE Hall of Fame ceremony. That's why they got the Khali induction. There you go, folks. Not really rocket science as to, oh, why isn't Dave Batista? I'm watching it with my 80-year-old grandmother. Where's Batista? He's not there because he wants to be there with fans, geek. Get over it. Your grandmother's going to have to wait another year to watch Big Dave in the Hall of Fame. Speaking of WrestleMania, we're getting into the WrestleMania news now. Real reason behind WWE booking Hulk Hogan and Titus O'Neil to host WrestleMania 37. Listen, man, all I know is that WrestleMania is going to have out of this world, man, like Guy Fieri says, out of bounds catering in Tampa. Believe me. Titus is sparing no expense. It's me like John fucking Hammond in Jurassic Park, man. I spare no expense. That's what Titus is doing, man. Listen, didn't come from me. This is just factual information. Hulk Hogan will unfortunately make his WrestleMania return this year to co-host WWE's worst WrestleMania build ever. Titus O'Neil will be sharing hosting duties with the Hulkster, but it wasn't O'Neil's deep ties to the Tampa community that got him the gig. Oh, really? Let's dive deeper into why this pairing is hosting WrestleMania. Now, years ago, Hulk Hogan was involved in a lawsuit with Gawker for publishing a sex tape that was recorded with a home surveillance camera without his knowledge. He said things that I will not utter here about his daughter dating somebody, and he didn't know he was being filmed. WWE has started to integrate Hogan back into the programming as of late after they exiled him for many years. Hogan later apologized to the WWE locker room with a speech that ended up becoming a reminder that you never know when you are being recorded. Some did not accept his apology as being genuine. The Wrestling Observer newsletter noted that Hulk Hogan's WrestleMania 37 role is happening because WWE placed Hogan with O'Neil in an attempt to squash any backlash for booking Hulk Hogan to begin with. So Hulk Hogan and Titus O'Neil were announced as co-hosts for WrestleMania. O'Neil was no doubt put in the position to counter any backlash on using Hogan in that spot this year. There was plenty of backlash when Hulk Hogan and Titus O'Neil were announced as WrestleMania hosts. Fans even cried out for the likes of Bayley, who doesn't have a WrestleMania match as of right now, where I'm recording this, 5 p.m. on a Friday night. Fans even cried about Bayley taking Hogan's spot at WrestleMania to host the show. So let me get this straight, WWE. You are booking Hogan with Titus in an attempt to squash any backlash about booking Hogan moving on into the future. So what you're telling me with this move is you don't give a shit about any of the fans that have a problem with this. You're forcing it on them to make them think that everything is all right when you have no fucking right to tell them what to think or how to feel about this particular subject. And why are we pandering to Hulk Hogan, getting him at WrestleMania in this obvious forced role just so that you guys could sleep easy at night and maybe think the backlash goes away because you'll pair Hulk Hogan with an obvious black community leader, a PR guy in WWE that is well respected by everybody. If Titus is welcoming Hogan back, then he must be a good guy. You guys in the company sicken me to no end. Never mind with the shit that you do to insult our fucking intelligence on Monday and Friday night. If this doesn't insult your fucking intelligence, I don't know what the fuck will. Hulk Hogan doesn't belong there. Hulk Hogan should not be booked on WWE television. Hulk Hogan should not be thought about when booking future WWE shows. What the fuck is wrong with you? Couldn't get anybody else to host this goddamn show? Titus couldn't do it by himself? He couldn't do it by himself. Bayley couldn't host the show? Couldn't get Ric Flair to host the fucking show? Somebody. A musical act. Bad Bunny could have hosted the fucking show. Could have hosted the show with Titus. Could have wrestled, went back to hosting. Would have put him in a bigger spotlight. Because that's what you want to do anyway. What a shit move. Forcing something on the people that WWE wants you to accept, but they have no right to tell you what to accept. In this case, specifically. There are many people that I know that still don't give a fuck about Hulk Hogan. Yet WWE is pushing Hulk Hogan on everybody. If you don't want to give a fuck about Hulk Hogan, that is your God-given right not to give a fuck about Hulk Hogan. I know I don't. I know I don't. What a joke. A fucking joke. There are legitimately people on social media not even going to watch the fucking show because he's associated with it. Why would you ever do that and put your fans in that position? Moving on to more important matters and not the huckster here. Backstage news on why Vince McMahon changed plans for WrestleMania 37's main event. Folks, everything that I've said about Edge has been spot on accurate. If you don't think so, go watch somebody else, please. Do me a favor. If you don't like hearing the truth, you clearly are insulting yourself by listening to somebody that's much more dumber than anybody else that I've encountered in the community. I want to take this clip of Edge, not really a clip, but a statement from Edge. He was actually interviewed on the series finale of Grit and Glory. And Edge talked about the emotional fallout he had during his years in retirement. He says this, and I quote, "The interesting thing about my scenario was that I was told I don't have a choice. So that, in a way, made it easier." Now, he commented with that on his initial retirement in 2011. "I didn't have to sit on the fence and go, okay, do I have any more left? Do I have that?" They're like, "No, you're not cleared to do this anymore." What comes with that is having to pretty quickly wrap up your mind around this thing, this idea that what you've wanted to do your entire life, and the only thing you've known your entire adult life, is now gone. There's emotional fallout from that. Once I got a sniff that this thing is possible, I got my butt in there, and I just kept moving and grinding to get to this point. I learned that I needed to save it, because what that was a reminder that everyone could be the last one. Ever. Ever. That's the aspect of this I was thinking about. Whether it's talking to the guys in the locker room, talking to you now, or getting in that ring, I appreciate it. End quote. I was a big fan of Edge coming back. His moment last year, coming out in the Royal Rumble, 40,000 people in Arizona. Unbelievable moment. Clearly one of the best moments in WWE history. To see him back after 9 years, to hear Miles Kennedy on the fucking PA singing Metalingus with Alter Bridge, hearing him come out, seeing him come out. Unbelievable moment. The dream matches were all being formulated in every fan's eyes, man. Edge is one of my all-time favorite superstars ever. Ever. Then he got hurt. He was out all of last year. And then we heard the rumors that he's coming back. He's going to finish the thing with Randy Orton. Rumors of Randy Orton and Edge at WrestleMania for the WWE title. I was all right with that. Because it made storyline sense. And that's what you want at WrestleMania. You want a culmination of your best story. And that was, at the time, WWE's best story. Then they transitioned Drew McIntyre into Randy Orton. Then Randy Orton went to go battle the fucking Fiend. Everything just got messed up. Edge finished his feud with Randy Orton on Monday Night Raw. They blew it off right after the Royal Rumble. Nothing was the same. And then Edge was transitioning himself in a role to chase the WWE or WWE Universal Championships. He wanted to become that legend who wanted to sit upon the throne one more time and bask in that glory. How many times have we seen that storyline told with different people in that spot? It gets old. People were talking about Edge versus Drew McIntyre. I know I was one of the leaders in that discussion. It just made sense. Edge wins the Rumble. I didn't really want Edge to win the Rumble at all. I wanted Daniel Bryan to win the fucking Royal Rumble. Maybe Edge wins the Chamber, and then we get to where we need to be through different ways. Bryan wins the Rumble, challenges Roman Reigns. They even talked about Daniel Bryan challenging Roman Reigns by winning the Royal Rumble. Daniel Bryan said, I never won a Royal Rumble. That pretty much planted the seed for him to possibly win the Royal Rumble. And then he was fucking eliminated. We still would have got Edge versus Drew, Bryan versus Roman anyway. Because we still have the Elimination Chamber. And that is always supposed to be, not this year, a pivotal role on the road to WrestleMania. Edge versus Drew, Bryan versus Roman. It's the way it should have been. Then we got Edge winning the Royal Rumble. And here I am thinking WWE is going to do the right thing. Edge is going to challenge Drew McIntyre. Should have came out on Monday Night Raw, challenged Drew McIntyre. Seemed all but likely that was going to happen, but excuses were made. WWE didn't go and do that. They waited about 4 weeks for him to announce who he wanted to wrestle, and it was the wrong guy. All while they wasted an Elimination Chamber pay-per-view that, if you look back at this pay-per-view this year on the road to WrestleMania, it means absolutely nothing. No significance at all about that Royal Rumble match. Just what happened with Daniel Bryan and his journey to get to where he is right now with Roman Reigns. That's it. Everything else on that show, that WWE Championship Chamber match, the SmackDown Chamber match, nothing needed to happen there. Nothing. So Edge wins the Royal Rumble. He challenges Roman Reigns. I knew from right then and there. Doesn't really signify a WrestleMania main event. It doesn't speak to me as being a WrestleMania 37 main event. Where's the story? The story is old-timer, legend, Hall of Famer, chasing Roman, chasing a championship. Supposedly, he never lost. First of all, you've never held the Universal Championship. While you were around, the title didn't exist. So where's the story there? Oh, it's spear versus spear. What are you, 5 years old? You're booking a match based on the fact that these guys have the same finishing move? Thank God none of you are writing fucking wrestling shows. There was no story there. All of you blindly went and followed geeks on social media who said the same thing about this match like you, because you wanted it and you were following people that had the same ideology, the same idea, the same dream match. Oh man, this is a WrestleMania main event. Meanwhile, I was here pushing for Bryan because story. The reason why Roman Reigns was in purgatory for the last 7 years before he actually turned heel was for one reason and one reason only, and that was Daniel Bryan and the Yes Movement. So if anybody's shilling Edge and Roman to me, making more sense over Bryan and Roman, I looked at you like you were a fucking idiot. What? There's no story with one, and a story that is rich with history in the other. And I've always been saying, if you don't do Bryan and Roman, where exactly is Bryan gonna fit? You guys were coming, oh, you can put him against Seth Rollins. Oh, you could put him against Cesaro. You could put him against Otis or team him with Gable or whatever. People were coming up and leaving him off the show completely. Again, thank God you guys are not writing wrestling program. But we're in a situation now, and it happened on SmackDown. It happened on the go-home show for the Fastlane pay-per-view. There was one thing that I said on my live stream post-show, and people were not in agreement with it. I said, and it was clear as day, it jumped off the screen to me. Not that Edge is a bad wrestler. Not that Edge is not doing a good job. He sells masterfully. He's a fucking old-school mat wrestling tactician, right? It's one of the greatest to ever do it. But one thing jumped out at me, and it was not his in-ring ability. It was the fact that he looked old. And he looked his age. And I said to everybody, is it me? Or am I going crazy? Why did on that night, Edge look older than when I seen him back in the Rumble? Why is it that Edge looked older in that match with Uso? More so than when I seen him in the ring with Randy. What happened in the last year? He got old. I don't know what happened, but it looked like he aged 5 years in one since we've last seen him wrestle a singles match. And I said from that SmackDown post-show, which was last week, you can go and listen to it. I'm not making up excuses. I said that then before I read to you what is now being the reason that Vince changed everything. Edge looked old. Edge looked old. And I said you would rather take Edge in that position and put him in the ring with Roman one-on-one at WrestleMania. What do you exactly think is going to be the outcome here? You think Edge looking 5 years older than the last time we seen him wrestle in a one-on-one match is going to beat Roman Reigns? Take the Universal Championship off Roman Reigns. Grandpa Edge is going to take the Universal title over Roman Reigns. You couldn't sell me on that fact if I was in a fucking coma, gone from the world. Couldn't. Even in my fucking comatose state, I'd fucking blink at you, signifying that you're a fucking idiot. Never gonna happen. Never gonna happen. And people are claiming, oh, but Bryan ruined the main event. Bryan don't belong there. Now, granted, Bryan wasn't booked strong going into the Rumble. He's doing the Macarena with fucking Otis and Chad Gable working his hips. I get it. He wasn't booked strong. But that doesn't mean Bryan is not a strong competitor. You can omit that stuff. Yeah, it happened. But Bryan and Roman have the richer story here. Then Bryan is clearly focusing on Roman more so than Edge is. Edge announced that he wants Roman. WWE clearly shifted from Edge and Roman to Bryan and Roman. And Bryan's supposed WrestleMania opponent before all of this, which was Seth Rollins, he's doing things with Cesaro. So it started to become a point where, all right, they're moving with this Roman and Bryan storyline. We're now 3 weeks away from WrestleMania. If Bryan is not added to the main event, where exactly is he fitting on this card? You just can't put him in the Rollins and Cesaro storyline. That storyline's been without him for weeks. So where exactly is he going? What exactly is he going to do? And I kept saying, Edge is now a third wheel because WWE is doing what they should have done all along, focusing on Bryan and Roman. Bryan and Roman had a WrestleMania main event-worthy match at a Fastlane pay-per-view. Edge didn't do anything in that match to make you want to see him versus Roman. Everybody coming out of that pay-per-view gave you Bryan and Reigns at the top of their WrestleMania card. Going back to what I've been saying for months. You were more interested in Bryan and Reigns coming out of that match than you were against Edge. So where exactly did I ever steer you guys wrong on any of this discussion? I didn't, because I knew what I was talking about. And WWE eventually caught up and knew exactly what they were doing. Exactly what I thought they should have done. Not really the way I would have went about it, but we're getting that in the end anyway at WrestleMania. Then Edge on SmackDown. I don't know yet. More than likely he's going to be upset. More than likely he's going to have a triple threat match on his hands with Bryan now being added. And then they even showed you at Fastlane that Edge, WWE doesn't trust Edge in this match one-on-one anymore because the way that they booked it, Edge was A, going to be booed out of the building because of the way WWE's booked this storyline, or B, Roman is so over that nobody's going to want to see him lose. WWE's going to have Roman as a fucking babyface by the end of this thing because of how great he's been booked. Edge has been booked like shit. Nobody wants him there. Not only has he been booked like shit, but now he's in a match that nobody really cares about him being in. Booed. Come WrestleMania. They know that. They know that. Had him turn heel at Fastlane. Had him attack Roman. Had him attack Bryan. He turned heel. So now Edge is going into WrestleMania, not as the conquering babyface that wants to win the championship that he never lost, wants to win a championship he's never held in the Universal title. He's going into WrestleMania once chasing a dream. Now he's going into WrestleMania as a heel with nobody even wanting him there. That's shit booking. That's shit booking. This is the Edge that we should have been seeing all along. Now, I said, if Edge is a babyface and Bryan's a babyface challenging Roman Reigns in a triple threat match, everybody that didn't want Bryan in this match, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, I don't want him in this match, but I told you time and time and time again that him being there gives Edge, your guy, the opportunity to even walk out of the WrestleMania show as Universal Champion because Bryan could be there to take the pin. Edge wouldn't have to pin Roman. Now, I'm not advocating for Roman to lose at all. But if Roman was to factor into losing this championship, and he did lose the championship, clearly you can't pin Roman Reigns. Bryan would be there to take the pin if he wanted to give Edge the championship. If Bryan's going to win the championship, which opens up a world of possibilities now that Edge is a heel, and Bryan is the only babyface in this thing, he may walk out the champion one more time. He can pin Edge. Then we could get a one-on-one match with Edge, and then Bryan can lose it back to Roman, which would be fine. But the fact of the matter is, I said this from the very beginning, and I said it last week, Edge is looking old. Edge is looking old. Now, there were reports, Meltzer said, that the story on this is when Vince decided to tear up the show, he wanted some changes. He wasn't satisfied. Evidently, this match that I'm talking about is the match he wanted changed. The key match. There were all kinds of ideas thrown around, and from what I was told, says Meltzer, most of them weren't good, but this was the best of the ideas, and it was to make it a three-way. Meltzer went on and said, and I quote, the idea is that it's three guys who are really good workers. I thought that it was one of those things that they were afraid of, that Roman was going to get sheared against Edge and fuck the match up. I thought that, but it was not the reason. I think that he just felt it wasn't what he wanted, and it was what he wanted, and now it wasn't what he wanted. So Bryan is in there, and Edge is a heel, which I guess is where he wanted to go from there on. So Vince didn't want it. Vince booked it, but Vince didn't want it. He eventually changed it to Daniel Bryan being a triple threat match. It makes me wonder how much influence Edge had on creatively booking himself. If he had that power to book himself into the main event and convince Vince McMahon that that was the right match, only for Vince McMahon to turn around and change it because he knew, even though Edge more than likely convinced him that it wasn't right. I don't want Vince to do anything, really. But if Vince didn't want it from the get-go, why didn't he go usually the way he usually goes, with his gut, and do what he wants to do? Which more than likely would have been Bryan and Roman. It may have saved the Elimination Chamber in the process. Meltzer pointed out how Bryan was losing most of his matches in recent months. It's pretty clear that he wasn't factored into the main event until recently. Bryan submitted to Shinsuke Nakamura, lost to Cesaro a couple of times, and he previously lost to Roman Reigns at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view after he won the Chamber. Winning the Chamber is a big deal. He lasted over 30 minutes and won the Chamber. So WWE knew what they wanted to do with Bryan going into the Chamber. They had all that time. They knew they wanted Bryan in the main event. If Bryan wasn't factored into the main event, he would have never been in the Chamber. He would have never won the Chamber. That's the middle of February. So Bryan was factored. I wonder what Edge told Vince McMahon. According to Fightful, WWE made the call to place Bryan in the Universal title match weeks ago. It was reported that Vince decided to do this in the last week of February, right after the Chamber. It's pretty apparent by looking at how WWE booked SmackDown in the last month that Bryan chasing the Universal title meant more than a blow-off match during the go-home show prior to WrestleMania, or the go-home pay-per-view. The last stop on the road to WrestleMania Fastlane, right before WrestleMania. Now it would be Roman versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 37, closing out Night 2. Ringside News exclusively reported that Vince McMahon nailed down a finalized WrestleMania card the first week of March. Placing Bryan into the Universal title match was obviously one of those pieces that fell into place around that time. Now, for the real reason why Vince McMahon ultimately decided to make this decision, was it because he wanted WrestleMania to be bigger? Possibly. But it was noted in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that Vince McMahon made this change to the WrestleMania main event at the time that I just gave you. The reason stems from Vince McMahon thinking the simple fact that Edge is 47 years old. In the end, Vince wanted to make a change because of Edge's age. One person close to the situation said that the age issue, not as much as the number, as the look of age. Sources say he was looking older each week, with Edge, and that being a concerning point, really made Vince McMahon stand up and say, I think we need a change of WrestleMania main event. But really, in the end, it came down to Edge looking older than he really is. This is what I said on Friday's post-show last week on SmackDown. And nobody believed me. Now you got sources close to the situation claiming that Vince, and the reason why he changed this main event, the straw that broke the camel's back, per se, was Edge being 47 years old, looking like he was 57 years old. Edge looking older than he is in a main event against Roman Reigns isn't what I call a main event of WrestleMania. We've seen it over and over and over again. He added Bryan to the main event to give it a main event feel, to give the main event a little bit more stability. According to Dave Meltzer in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, WWE is also expecting Edge to get booed out of WrestleMania 37. Meltzer is reporting that people within WWE are fully expecting Edge to get booed in Tampa. However, Meltzer also noted that this is not the reason they opted to add Daniel Bryan to the match. So that has no reason. That is no reason why Vince changed it. It was because of his age. Bryan isn't nearly as hot, but the belief is that he won't be booed, says Meltzer. Reigns may be cheered, as there is no way of knowing since it's the first show in a year with a large crowd and crowd reactions. Edge is expecting to be booed given how his interference took place at Fastlane, end quote. Folks, all I will say to each and every one of you, I never come on here and say and spew bullshit at you. It's always because I see something that I'm watching from my point of view, and I'm wondering if you guys seen the same thing. I'm not saying that I'm always right. I'm not saying that everything I say comes to light. But if there's anybody in this community that's been 100% spot on how to book WrestleMania and what the match should have been on night 1 and night 2 to close these shows, what the main events should have been, how the road to WrestleMania should have been constructed. Everything I've said about Edge, if there's one person in this community that's been spot on correct about everything, and I don't mean to stroke my own ego, but man, I've been spot on more than I've ever been spot on with anything on this podcast with this situation. All coming out of that SmackDown post show, saying to each and every one of you, man, I think Edge looks old. I can't see that being a WrestleMania main event. I can't see that being the guy to take Roman down like all these geeks are thinking he should. No way. And what comes out? Sources close to the situation say that Vince McMahon saw Edge look older than he really is number-wise and opted to make a change. I'm not saying you have to agree with everything that I say, but man, oh man, please give me some fucking credit where credit is due. I know everybody out there listening to me is probably big into gaming. I know that I am. I love me some Call of Duty. I love me some Destiny when I'm just chilling with my guys during the week. Whether you guys like Warzone, traditional multiplayer in Black Ops, or Modern Warfare, Destiny, Valorant, or anything that is competitive nowadays, Apex Legends, could be anything, man. Rogue Company. I know that I'm competitive and I need something to keep me going during all of these long hours, all of these streams, even when I stream on YouTube, doing the Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, AEW post shows on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I need something to keep me going, man, and I needed the best. And I want to introduce to you guys Advanced GG. If you guys want to really be at the top of your game, you're going to want to get yourself some Advanced GG, man. They made it a lifelong mission statement to introduce the highest quality of nootropics to the world of gaming and esports. They are enhancers that are smart ingredients designed to improve mental performance for gaming and everyday life. Innovative energy ingredients you won't find in your normal coffee or energy drink from the convenience store, and they're loaded with essential vitamins and minerals. Focus, their #1 brand, is sugar-free, 0 carbs, 0 calories, and they come without any filters, man. When I tell you that you're gonna get all natural ingredients, all natural caffeine, you guys are gonna get all natural everything, full essential vitamin B and vitamin C intake for just 1 serving of Focus Advanced GG, you're doing yourself a favor, man. You can take it on the way to the office. You can take it on your way to the gym. You can take it on your streams, getting ready for your streams. It is unbelievable. And I don't usually do these energy drinks behind the counter that you see in the convenience store, man. They're loaded with sugar. They do nothing for me. I drink it, I feel good for about a half an hour, and then all I want to do is crash. I've been using Advanced GG for about a month and a half now, and I never, and I swear on everything I own, never felt a desire to crash after drinking Advanced GG, man. Unbelievable stuff. I stand by it. And if you guys want something, not just for gaming, not just for the podcasting, if you guys are a podcaster yourself, but everyday life, Advanced GG is where it's at, man. You're going to go to advanced.gg. That is their homepage. You're going to choose what you want. At the end, when it says checkout, you're going to enter the coupon code SCRIPT, and you're going to save 10% off your entire purchase, man. Believe me, it works. I want to thank Advanced GG for being a great sponsor and a great friend of Off the Script. All right, man, it is that time of the podcast where we go over the weekly breakdown for Raw, SmackDown, AEW, and NXT. We're going to start with SmackDown and the go-home show before Fastlane. The ratings are in, and the ratings are down. Lowest number since February 12th for SmackDown. 2.093 million viewers on Fox. This is down 3.6% from the previous week. Like I said, it is the lowest number since February 12th. The main competition for SmackDown was the NCAA men's basketball tournament, with various games airing on CBS and other channels on cable. SmackDown drew a 0.57 in the 18-49 demo. That is down almost 7% from the previous week. That beat everything else on television, with exception of the basketball games. Now on SmackDown, Sasha Banks defeated Nia Jax in a women's championship match. I ranted on Sasha and Bianca Belair on the Fastlane post show. I feel like WWE now just shifting gears for Sasha and Bianca to really make the SmackDown Women's Championship the priority here is too little too late. You went from something that people were calling a definite dream match of sorts for this year's WrestleMania to something that was realistically built around the tag team championships and fucking Reginald. I don't know what else to say. Now with 3 weeks to go, now you want me to care about Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. People are making a big deal about which match is going to main event night 1. We all know what's going to main event night 2. What's going to main event night 1 of WrestleMania 37? Is it going to be Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley? Or is it going to be Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair? I don't know. Neither Drew McIntyre or Bobby Lashley won the fucking Royal Rumble. You have a 2-night WrestleMania. I think the answer is very simple, folks. Give me a break. Bianca won the Royal Rumble. You have a 2-night WrestleMania. So I think Bianca versus Sasha should main event night 1. You already downplayed the Royal Rumble importance many times on this road to WrestleMania. Elimination Chamber and the Royal Rumble feel like fucking afterthoughts, especially after the Rhea Ripley fucking bullshit. Do the right thing. Sasha, Bianca, main event night 1. The feud I know doesn't call for it. I know. You might think that Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre calls for it. It doesn't. They're both undercard matches. But if we're really going to look at the grand picture here, Bianca Belair won the Royal Rumble. You have a 2-night WrestleMania. Answer's very simple, folks. The answer's very simple. Shinsuke Nakamura confronted Seth Rollins. That's where their match was made for Fastlane. One of the better matches on the night. Rollins obviously picked up the victory at Fastlane. Booyaka, booyaka. Rey and Dominic Mysterio, booyaka, booyaka, 619, defeated the Street Profits. Great. Former tag team champions losing on television. Nice thing to see, right? Then they just take the winners here in Booyaka, Rey and Dominic Mysterio. Then they immediately put them in a match with Otis and Gable and have Rey and Dominic Mysterio lose. So what does that tell you, folks? For everybody thinking it's going to be the Street Profits versus the Dirty Dogs, Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode at WrestleMania, you are mistaken. This match and this situation came about because all 4 of these teams, Ziggler and Roode included, Profits, Gable, Otis, the Mysterios, all of these men are going to be in the tag team title match at WrestleMania. Mark my words. King Corbin defeated Sami Zayn. I forgot they even wrestled. So how important is that match to you? Probably not very important. Bianca Belair wrestled Shayna Baszler, ended in a no contest, whatever. And Edge defeated Jey Uso to become the special enforcer of Fastlane. Roman Reigns took out Edge and Daniel Bryan when the show went off the air. Needless to say, without Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan and their storyline, SmackDown is just as bad as Monday Night Raw. And that's not a category that Bruce wants SmackDown to be in. AEW Dynamite, the ratings are in for Dynamite and NXT. AEW Dynamite ranks number 6 on cable with the key demo. WWE NXT viewership rebounds slightly. Dynamite, which featured Darby Allin defending the TNT Championship against John Silver, who is injured, out 4 to 6 weeks with a separated shoulder, I believe. No surgery required. He'll be back in about 2 months or so. AEW did 757,000 live viewers, down from last week's 768,000 live viewers. They did a 0.30 rating in the 18 to 49 demo. That is up from last Wednesday's 0.28. On the flip side, NXT did 678,000 live viewers. That is up from last week's dismal 597,000 viewers. While they did a 0.14 rating in the 18 to 49 demo, that is up from a 0.13. I'm sure the champagne was flowing in Gorilla with that demo being up a percentage point. NXT featured Karrion Kross versus Oney Lorcan, which we'll get into in a second. Jordan Devlin back, and I'll talk about this, which was easily my favorite part of the show. Devlin versus Kushida with Shawn Michaels coming out and pretty much acting very HBK-ish. And then Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole, they got their contract signed for TakeOver, which is an unsanctioned match. I was thinking maybe a loser leaves NXT match, or what I like to rephrase as loser gets buried match, because the loser would inevitably be gifted to Bruce and goodbye to your career. AEW ranked number 6 in the top 150 shows on cable. NXT was number 29. And like I said, the demos were all won by AEW except for the prune juice drinking individuals in the 50 plus. NXT did a 0.40 in that 50 plus demo graphic. NXT saw Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai defeat Io Shirai and Zoe Stark in the opening match. Very good action here. Very good action here. But I gotta admit, though Zoe Stark is very good at what she does, the initiative to push Zoe Stark over everybody else is becoming very apparent. That doesn't really make me a fan of Zoe Stark. Why don't you just let things happen naturally? You want to know how WWE loves, or how I know WWE loves Zoe Stark? She's been in there with Dakota Kai. She's been in there with Raquel Gonzalez. She's been in there with Io Shirai. And I believe Toni Storm, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, that's pretty damn impressive for somebody that just got fucking signed. Why don't you just let her work her way up and kind of ease on the major rocket pack that you gave Zoe Stark? Doesn't really make me want to see Zoe Stark. The more you push, the less I want to see. Just saying. Things happen naturally, and when they do, it's a lot better off for fans and performer alike. But this was a good match. Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez took out Io Shirai. Raquel did anyway. Powerbomb on the announce table did not break. It looked like it sucked. I fully expect Raquel Gonzalez to take that title from Io Shirai on night 1 of NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver, which will be on the USA Network. That is, indeed, the main event of that show. Night 1, rather. Bronson Reed defeated LA Knight. I tried to listen to LA Knight's theme music, man. I want to see what type of cool music they gave somebody with the name of LA Knight. Generic as fuck is LA Knight's theme music. I'm warming up to LA Knight. He's got more charisma than anybody on the main roster, really. And I think he could do good things for NXT. Not a bad match. I'm a big Bronson Reed guy. Bronson Reed got the victory, which I was surprised by. I figured this would be actually on the undercard of TakeOver on either one of the nights. But we got it here. We still may end up getting that. But Bronson Reed, they replayed that big splash with Bronson Reed on LA Knight about 3 different times, man. My God. It looked worse and worse and worse every time they replayed it. I would not want to be on the receiving end of the tsunami by Bronson Reed. Karrion Kross defeated Oney Lorcan. I got news on the NXT Tag Team Championships being vacated. Vacation for the Tag Team Championships until they give it to their rightful owners. NXT United Kingdom Champion Walter squashed Drake Maverick, only to then have Tommaso Ciampa come out, claim he wants Walter and the United Kingdom Championship, and then Walter caved Ciampa's chest in with an overhand chop. Awesome. There's one match I'm looking forward to on all of TakeOver. There's actually 2 matches I'm looking forward to most. It would be the ladder match, which I'll get to in a second, with Jordan Devlin and Santos Escobar, and then Tommaso Ciampa, who I honestly think needs to go back to the bald look. He looks very old. He's looking like an old man. Old man Edge is rubbing off on him. Walter and Tommaso Ciampa looks to be fucking unbelievable. Can't wait to see that match. Gonna be a barn burner. NXT Women's Tag Team Champions Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon defeated Mercedes Martinez and Aaliyah. It's great. No real teams down there. Already seeing rematches. That's great, though. That's great. No competition down there. Really great. Really great. Now we got The Way. We got Indie Wrestling and Candice LeRae coming up during the show, challenging Shotzi and Ember Moon for the Tag Team Championships. That's good. That's good. I'm sure Johnny Wrestling's very happy about that one, to add more gold to the family. Jordan Devlin defeated Kushida in a non-title match. Excellent match between these two. Kushida has pretty much hit his ceiling in NXT, which is sad, but Devlin, you know that they're very high on Jordan Devlin, man. He came back with the previous version of the Cruiserweight Championship, and they are taking a page out of the Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 10 feud, because Shawn Michaels came down with Devlin and Santos Escobar in the ring, claiming they're the real Cruiserweight champion. He comes down the aisle during the match, or after the match rather, takes a ladder with him, slides it underneath the bottom rope, and signifies, you guys are going to end this in a ladder match. You want to know how I know Shawn Michaels is high on Jordan Devlin? Because that ladder is synonymous with Shawn Michaels' career. And I know Shawn Michaels is in charge of this ladder match, and you know he went back and thought, hey man, me and Scott Hall did this. I want to see you and Santos do the same thing and even do it better than me and Razor Ramon did it. Love it. That's the one match I'm looking forward to most out of everything on TakeOver Stand is that ladder match. Devlin is fucking awesome. Santos Escobar is fucking awesome. They're going to kill it in that ladder match, man. I hope that there's live human beings in that crowd. I really, really do. And then Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Page, they agreed to an unsanctioned match for TakeOver Stand and Deliver. I even love the exclusive on WWE.com where Adam Cole was shown punching William Regal in the face. I wonder, with some weeks left to go, if there will be any added stipulations due to Adam Cole's unruly behavior. I initially thought that this was going to be a loser leaves NXT match and that NXT cannot handle both of these attitudes. Now it's an unsanctioned match. William Regal's going to allow them to go out there and just kill each other. It reminds me of, just like Ciampa and Gargano, it reminds me of Shawn Michaels and Triple H. What's happening here with Cole and O'Reilly. Now, I was more interested in Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. I'm kind of interested in Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. They haven't taken me to that point yet where I'm like, I'm all in. I like it. I love Cole's attitude. Cole's one of my number ones right now. I'm liking what they're doing, but I'm not there yet. I'm not fully invested yet. So we'll see what happens. WWE's production calendar, and I got AEW news. Don't worry, I got AEW results. I want to go over this because we're talking about NXT and what happened. WWE's production calendar further confirms NXT's move to Tuesday. It was previously reported that the USA Network will move NXT from Wednesday to Tuesday starting next month. There had been an internal calendar that noted WWE would air NXT on Tuesday, April 13th. That would be right after WrestleMania 37. PW Insider reported this week that WWE's production schedule for the month of April now lists WWE NXT for Tuesdays every week after WrestleMania weekend. Thus, now it's all but confirmed, which means WWE is expected to make an announcement at any moment. Do you want to even know about what further solidified this move? Impact has already announced a move of their weekly show to Thursday, which was previously on Tuesday. So now we have Impact moving to Thursdays off of Tuesday because they know full and well that NXT is moving to Tuesdays. And they don't want to directly compete with NXT because nobody's going to watch Impact over NXT. Or maybe you will. I don't know. The majority of you will watch NXT over Impact. But that further stamps the exclamation point on that move for NXT. Good. NXT reviews that have been asked from fans of this channel, NXT reviews are coming back on Tuesday. It will be nice. It will be a nice change. It will be a nice hangout on Tuesday. I'm looking forward to it. I hate watching NXT on the network on Thursdays when I'm laying in bed. I hate it. I want to watch it live when I got some energy. Then I go to Dynamite on Wednesdays. This is good for everybody. Can't wait. AEW. AEW on Wednesday. Decent show. Not the best, but decent. Kenny Omega defeated Matt Sydal in a very good opening match. Kenny Omega's not losing at all. More than likely should take that Impact World Championship from Rich Swann. The collector of belts, man. The belt collector, Kenny Omega. That's what we need to see. Adam Hangman Page versus Cesar Bononi. That was a squash match. We got the Murder Hawk Madman, Lance Archer, cutting a promo on Sting. He's clearly targeting the TNT Championship. We got Tony Schiavone interviewing Britt Baker, where she called herself a hardcore legend. Took Mick Foley 20 years to become a hardcore legend. Something that she did in one night. She then turns her attention to Tony Khan, criticizing him for signing legend after legend when he has the biggest legend right under his nose. Her. Britt Baker, and the growth of Britt Baker is a beautiful thing to see. She's coming into her own, and that feud with Thunder Rosa is working. It's magic. Now you see it. Moving on with the rest of Dynamite, the Hollywood Blondes and Dante Martin versus the Pinnacle. We had the Pinnacle defeating them rather easily. In-ring content was solid in this match, but the promo was what I was looking for from MJF. MJF is always great, keeping the feud with the Inner Circle alive until the Inner Circle themselves come back. Jericho, MJF. We got Santana and Ortiz, Proud and Powerful versus FTR. Gonna be good, man. And I know when crowds are allowed back in venues and AEW can take the show on the road again, I know for a fact we're getting blood and guts with the Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle on Dynamite, or an appropriate pay-per-view, man. The Young Bucks and Brandon Cutler, they went up against the Laredo Kid and the Lucha Brothers, with the Mexican trio defeating the Bucks and Brandon Cutler, with Laredo Kid pinning Brandon Cutler. The finish was good, but the post-match is what was really the star of this entire segment. And then Kenny Omega comes out. He wants to know where the allegiance of the Young Bucks are. They skipped on a too sweet from Omega, walked out on him. He's giving him one more chance. And obviously the Bucks walked out again. Kenny Omega wondered why their friendship is deteriorating. He came to AEW not to join AEW, but he was joining his family, his friends, the Bucks, the Elite. And now he feels like everything around the Bucks is happening without Omega. He wants to know why. So clearly this is leading to something with the Bucks feuding with Callis, Omega. The Good Brothers will probably get the Bucks versus the Good Brothers out of it. Pretty good stuff there. And I think they're still waiting to really push this storyline forward, the Forbidden Door forward, because they want fans in attendance. I don't know when that's going to be, but we will see that happen hopefully very soon. Tay Conti, she defeated Nyla Rose. Tay Conti's really, really upping her game. She's looking really good week after week after week. And then Hardy and his Hardy family order, or the Hardy family, whatever the fuck they're calling themselves, they came out. Rose attacked Conti after the match. Hikaru Shida came out. The Bunny joined Rose in beating down the babyfaces as Matt Hardy arrived with the Butcher and the Blade. Hardy said his client has been overlooked for far too long and claimed that the women's title eliminator tournament was a sham because Bunny was not involved in that tournament. Maybe it was good that she didn't end up in that tournament. And then Darby Allin versus John Silver. This was a very good main event match. Darby Allin retains the championship over John Silver. After the match, Sting and Allin showed Silver respect until the Hardy family office, the Hardy family order, I said, the Hardy family office attacked. A brawl with the Dark Order pretty much came about with Allin and Sting joining in. It looked like Matt Hardy attacked Darby Allin. We could be leading towards a one-off match with Matt Hardy and Darby Allin for the TNT Championship. Tay Conti came out of nowhere to wipe out the Bunny, and this pretty much set up next week's Dynamite. I could have done without the ending. I don't like the chaotic endings, but all in all, it was a decent episode of Dynamite, and I actually preferred NXT this week over AEW. Going back to NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver, the match card looks like the following. We got the NXT Women's Championship on night one being defended by Io Shirai against Raquel Gonzalez. Walter versus Tommaso Ciampa for the NXT UK Championship. The NXT Tag Team Championships are vacated. Danny Burch is out for 6 months. Oney Lorcan clearly cannot defend those championships on his own. So now we have a vacant NXT Tag Team Championship match with MSK, the Grizzled Young Veterans, and Legado del Fantasma. Decent teams there, man, but I'm picking one, and I'm going with MSK to win the Tag Team Championships. Grizzled Young Veterans, listen, awesome, awesome tag team, but nobody has been as hot as MSK. They are on fire. To me, I look at them and they really embody what the true essence of NXT is. Give those boys the championships and let them run with them. North American Championship number one contender gauntlet match. I'm not sure if this is still the case or not. So if anybody knows any news on this, please leave it in the comments below. Looks like we're going to have an eliminator match featuring 6 competitors to be announced on NXT. And then NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver Night 2, we're going to get Johnny Gargano to defend the North American Championship against the Gauntlet Eliminator winner. I'm not sure if that's the case or not, if they changed it, so we'll see what happens. NXT TakeOver Night 2, Finn Balor versus Karrion Kross for the NXT Championship, Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole, Cruiserweight Championship Unification Ladder Match, Santos Escobar and Jordan Devlin, and then Johnny Gargano versus the Eliminator winner of that Gauntlet match for the North American title. They may add one more match to Night 2, so that it evens out of 5 matches each. So we'll see what happens. TakeOver Stand and Deliver looks pretty fucking good, man. Will it be enough to be the best takeover ever? Probably not. Probably not. I'm still sticking with my guns, man. NXT TakeOver New York is the pinnacle of NXT takeovers. Speaking of Danny Burch, he's out for 6 months. This happened in a match against Balor and Kross. According to Meltzer, this is an unusual time frame for what is being described as a shoulder separation recovery. He's explaining that the competitors often return from shoulder separations rather quick. Meltzer noted that there is a high possibility that Burch will undergo surgery before returning to the ring. Maybe it's something else that's ailing him as well, as he is injured And it might just be more than just a separated shoulder. This is the full quote from Meltzer. And I quote, "That sounded like a long time for a separated shoulder. It sounds like he's going to get surgery because you wouldn't be out that long for a separated shoulder. Everybody's injury is different, but guys have had separated shoulders and come back a lot quicker, like Cross did. He had a separated shoulder, and he came back rather quickly. But if you need surgery, that's a different story. So it sounds like he does need surgery," end quote. Like I said, it might be something else that's ailing him that he wants to get rectified before he gets back in the ring. Karrion Kross notably separated his shoulder, like I mentioned, in a match where he won the NXT Championship against Keith Lee. He was forced to vacate the title the very next NXT episode. Kross was back competing by December, only 4 months later. So the NXT Tag Team Championship situation, I don't think anybody really cared about Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch holding those championships. When you got Imperium, you got the Grizzled Young Veterans, you got MSK, you got Legado del Fantasma, even Breezango on the roster. So why are you holding those titles on Burch and Lorcan when every other team that I just mentioned is so much better than them? MSK is going to win those tag team championships. Mark my words, that's the right team. And this may be a blessing for the tag team titles and that tag team division in the long run. But when Lorcan and Burch get back, I'm sure they'll be thrusted right back into contention for those tag team championships. Monday Night Raw's ratings, they stay steady, or so the report says. They were down. They're always down. Who watches Raw? Do you watch Raw? Probably not. You know who's watching Raw? This geek right here. Because I gotta watch Bruce and his terrible vision every single week. This week's edition of Monday Night Raw saw a dip in viewership. Just give me some fucking dip for my potato chips, man, please. At least ease my pain on Monday nights. According to Showbuzz Daily, the episode of Raw this past Monday drew an average of 1.816 million viewers on the USA Network. This is down 1.43 from a week ago. Should be noted that the show did go up against NCAA basketball games that took the top 3 spots on the top 150 shows on cable. Yes, the show sucked. It doesn't matter what was on. It doesn't matter what other sporting event was on. It sucks. Every fucking match is a goddamn rematch. Every creative decision is an illogical one. The 18 to 49 demo saw hour 1 with a 0.52, 0.53 in hour 2, and a 0.53 in hour 3. The hourly viewership breakdown is as follows: 1.878 for hour 1, 1.841 million for hour 2, and a 1.729 for hour 3. This was the Fallout edition from Sunday's Fastlane. Bobby Lashley defeated Sheamus in a match which I'm still questioning why even the match happened. Asuka defeated Peyton Royce. Yeah, right. So long, Peyton. Back to catering you go. Asuka was then challenged by the Nightmare, Rhea Ripley, for a WrestleMania match. This is what angered me the most, man. This is what angered me the most, I think, out of everything this week. You got geeks in the community who are praising this. Even got WWE on Fox's Twitter account asking, should this match main event? Whoever's in charge of that Twitter account, remove them immediately. No! The match should even be taking place, and you're here talking about a fucking main event of WrestleMania. Out of everything that happened this week, this is the one thing that angered me most. Geeks, cretins, ghouls, goblins, gargoyles in the community, faceless hawks in the community, praising why this match is happening, praising that this match is going to be taking place at Rhea Ripley deserves a WrestleMania match after wrestling last year in front of no fans. How many of the roster wrestled last year in front of no fans? A lot of people wrestled in front of no fans, man. A lot of people wrestled in front of no fans. Rhea Ripley is no different. Why are you making excuses for something like this to be taking place? Let's dive into why. Asuka has no opponent. Charlotte Flair, by the way, has COVID-19. That was the reason. She may have COVID-19. I fully believe she does. But Charlotte Flair was not removed from WrestleMania plans because of COVID-19. WWE removed Charlotte Flair from plans because of other things that happened with Andrade. Just gonna throw that out there, okay? If you believe that she's not in WrestleMania because of COVID, you're an idiot. Other things happened behind the scenes which removed her from the Monday Night Raw Women's Championship plans. First of all, Rhea Ripley is so overwhelmingly cringe. I don't know what it is, if it's the fact that she's overproduced. I don't believe what I'm seeing is Rhea Ripley. I think it's just over-accentuated to a point where it's forced. That's what I believe is happening with Rhea Ripley. WWE had every opportunity. She was number one, or she was one of the numbers of women in that Royal Rumble, lasted all the way till the end, okay? She lasted till the end with Bianca Belair. They were the final two competitors in the Royal Rumble. WWE, if they had plans for Rhea Ripley, they would have debuted her on the main roster the following night on Raw, and they did not do that. Why didn't they do that? They had no plans for Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley was just there. So now I'm looking back at everything that happened, and I'm looking at Rhea Ripley in this Asuka match, and I'm looking at a second-string shoe-in fill-in. That's what I'm looking at. Rhea Ripley is a bench player getting a championship match at WrestleMania. So then I look at the match being made, and I look at all the people excited about it. I'm not saying you can't be excited about it. I'm saying you got to look at the big picture here, folks. It doesn't make any logical sense. Yeah, there's nobody else on the roster, but whose fault is that? Why are you making excuses? Well, there's nobody else. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do to fix it? There's nobody else. Make somebody else. Go out and find a fucking solution to find someone else. They haven't done that. They haven't done that. There's nobody else, says the geek on social media. Okay? With Rhea Ripley getting this title shot, you do realize that it takes away from 29 other women in the Royal Rumble, right? 29 other women that were in that Royal Rumble. Rhea Ripley didn't win the Royal Rumble. She comes in second place. And then she gets a championship match because she sits at home 3 weeks till WrestleMania, shows up on Raw, points to a fucking logo, looks at Asuka in the eyes. I want a match with you for the Raw Women's title at WrestleMania. Asuka says yes. There you go. Virtually shitting all over the Royal Rumble match. All over the Royal Rumble match. And then the Chamber, forget about that. You ruin that fucking concept. You bury that concept right into the fucking ground because Rhea Ripley shows up on Monday Night Raw 3 weeks before WrestleMania and gets a championship match for basically not doing anything. And you're all right by this. How many people exposed themselves as fucking stupid on social media this week? A large number of you, man. You're like a walking fucking horde of zombies in The Walking Dead. Seriously. It's unreal how stupid people are. Not only did they ruin the Rumble, they ruined the Chamber, and they made everything seem like, hey, it's all right. Look, she's got a title match by doing nothing. She goes right to the top. You don't find that is an issue? You don't find this to be a glaring issue in WWE's road to WrestleMania, a glaring issue for the women? Where Saudi could just show up on Monday Night Raw, point at a fucking logo, and get a championship match? I could point on fucking Monday Night Raw at a goddamn logo and be just as deserving as a fucking Rhea Ripley for a title match. You fucking kidding me? Such garbage. Trash. That in itself, I want to see them come up with a reason for you to care in 3 weeks about Asuka and Rhea Ripley. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And if it does happen, it's not going to be very good. You're pretty much fooling yourself, man. You're weaseling your way into being disingenuous to everybody that follows you and your fucking podcast, your Twitter channel on Twitter. It's awful. It's absolutely awful, man. Asuka deserves better. At least give Rhea Ripley some fucking opponents. Rhea Ripley should have debuted on Monday Night Raw. They should have had a women's chamber match for the Monday Night Raw Women's Championship #1 contender because we all knew Bianca was going to wrestle Asuka. They should have had an Elimination Chamber match for the women at that pay-per-view with Ripley winning the fucking chamber. But WWE didn't have a plan for Rhea Ripley. WWE didn't have a plan for the Women's Championship. Their plan was Charlotte versus Lacey Evans, which is fucking toxic. That's your plan? Or Charlotte versus Asuka, that's your plan? That, to me, signifies no plan. If you wanted a real plan for the women, if you actually gave a shit about the Raw Women's title and Asuka and the women's division, Rhea Ripley should have been given a chamber match to win and then be crowned the number one contender. Yet we're talking about Lacey Evans and Charlotte. Fucking awful, man. Miz defeated Jeff Hardy. Who gives a shit? They set up Miz versus Bad Bunny at WrestleMania. News on why coming up. Why it's not a tag team match between Miz and Morrison versus Bad Bunny and Damian Priest. Kofi Kingston defeated AJ Styles. Drew McIntyre buried a rightful burial of the Hurt Business. Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin in a 2-on-1 handicap match. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defeated Catering 1 and Catering 2. Braun Strowman defeated Elias, and Randy Orton summoned the burned version of Bray Wyatt. Great. Jeepers Creepers. Where'd you get those peepers? Jeepers Creepers. Where'd you get those eyes? Take my fucking eyeball so I don't have to watch this fucking hideous garbage anymore. God, does Raw fucking suck. Speaking of Raw there, pre-taping Raw the week of WrestleMania. Post-Wrestling reports that the April 5th episode of Raw will be pre-taped. They will record the episode on March 30th. WWE needs to be out of Tropicana Field by the 9th, which is the date of the Rays' first home game against the New York Yankees. April 5th Raw was their final possible broadcast in the Tropicana Field setup. Then moving to the Yuengling Center, formerly known as the Sun Dome, like I mentioned at the top of the podcast. Real reason why Bad Bunny versus The Miz was announced as a singles match. Now, this is a quote from Mike Johnson of PW Insider. The real reason is, and I quote, Morrison and Damian Priest are dealing with minor injuries right now. And rather than announce a tag team match, then change it, they announced a singles match. And if everybody's good to go, it will evolve into a tag team match. And maybe even a tag team match on that night. They are being very conservative just in case one or both are not 100% cleared to perform. Mike Johnson says he was told that it's just minor injuries, and they are being very careful. Seems like I gotta clean my fucking ears out, man. I gotta wipe my eyes. You mean to tell me that someone in WWE actually came up with a logical way to do things? Holy shit. Whoever came up with that concept, I'd like to give you a fucking firm handshake, man. Really. Wow. Doing things right. Is it so tough, Bruce? I could deal with that. Even if it was a one-on-one match with Miz and Bad Bunny. I'm looking at this as, all right, well, Damian Priest is going to be there. John Morrison may be legit hurt, but they'll both be there, right? And I'm thinking, either A, Bad Bunny is being trusted by WWE and he's had enough training where they're okay with him going in the ring. And B, man, do they trust The Miz to keep this guy safe and bring him to a decent match? And here I am reading this from PW Insider that someone in WWE wanted the singles match to be announced with the hope of maybe everybody else kind of moving on from their lingering injuries. Maybe they'll get cleared. Even possibly making the match happen at WrestleMania. Unreal, man. I know it's not difficult to do things the right way, but Jesus Christ. I'd like to see more of that type of mentality in this company. I'm not interested in the match, though, I'll tell you that. I don't give a fuck. I'll be in the bathroom. Or maybe getting a beer or a coffee or whatever. Latest on Keith Lee. This guy's out to a permanent fucking coffee break. Keith Lee has been absent from WWE programming since February. He was originally advertised against Bobby Lashley for the United States Championship, against Matt Riddle as well in a triple threat match. This was after Keith Lee had disappeared from television. WWE had to pull him from the match and decided on booking John Morrison versus Ali versus Ricochet versus Elias on a pre-show, with Morrison winning and being added to the match. At the time, it was reported WWE wanted to keep it a three-way because they wanted to get the title off of Lashley and not have him pinned or submitted due to him being primed for a WWE title run. Lee's replacement could have been any wrestler, but it turned out to be Morrison. Dave Meltzer reported in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter that Riddle winning the U.S. title was not the original plan. Instead, the idea was for Riddle to lose the fall to Keith Lee as a way to get the belt off of Lashley and put it on Keith Lee. As noted, Keith Lee is on the sidelines due to health issues and has yet to be medically cleared. So let me get this straight, folks. Keith Lee was supposed to win the United States Championship. That may give people a glimmer of hope on him coming back and him factoring into plans. I doubt it. WWE is also very high on Matt, I think, very high on Matt Riddle. You know, take that with a grain of salt, please. I don't know whether they're laughing at him or laughing with him like I usually say on my post shows on Monday night. Keith Lee has been off of television even before that. Don't believe everything you read. The guy was brought back because they realized, hey, we have this guy. He was off of TV for weeks, thrown into this Lashley Riddle situation, then taken off TV again. For what? For what? I'll tell you what. I'll tell you for what. Keith Lee is not injured. Keith Lee doesn't have COVID. I don't know what the fuck they're doing with Keith Lee. But I will say that I would be a betting man that they want to use Keith Lee, but they're absolutely in a situation where they look at Keith Lee, they don't like the makeup of what Keith Lee is. They sent this guy home to go and lose weight. I guarantee. We all see Keith Lee back on television, and he looks a little bit leaner. He looks a little bit slimmer than when we first seen him debut on Monday night. Guarantee it. I would be a betting man. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But the reason why this guy is off TV is not because he's injured. He doesn't have COVID. He didn't have any lingering injuries. I mean, Keith Lee is a major deal on Monday night. Should be, at least. They took him off TV because Keith Lee is fat. And Vince McMahon wants Keith Lee to lose fat. Simple. I'm going to go with that one. Simple. I don't know what else to tell you guys. The guy wasn't a factor into anything until they said, ooh, we got Keith Lee. He was off TV. Where did he go? He was in the middle of Drew McIntyre's title fucking thing against Randy Orton, taken off TV. Then he's back, then he's taken off TV. They had no idea what to do with this guy. This guy needs a fucking hard, and I mean hard, reset on Monday night. If not, move him back down to NXT and get him off of Monday Night Raw. WWE. Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton. WWE sees Bray Wyatt as the babyface against Randy Orton in this WrestleMania feud. Now, in WWE's eyes, Bray Wyatt's Fiend character is the babyface in his ongoing feud with Randy Orton. There was a Twitter user who claimed to be a regular participant of the WWE Thunderdome crowds. He used to be a virtual geek, is what he's admitting. And he was inside the Thunderdome. He was on the opposite end of the producer, guiding everybody on the virtual screens. Says the company officials called for big boos for Randy Orton during his segment on Raw. Said segment saw Randy Orton attempt to douse Bray Wyatt in gasoline and set him ablaze, repeating TLC's 2020 Firefly Inferno match, in which Bray Wyatt's fiery fate was enough to keep him off the television for 3 months. Randy Orton was foiled on this occasion, with Bray Wyatt pretty much downing him with his sister Abigail to close the show. Orton versus Wyatt was then announced for WrestleMania 37. A possible wacky situation is going to be added to this match at WrestleMania. That's been speculated. Nobody knows what it is going to be. Now, I don't exactly see Bray Wyatt and his Swamp Thing, a.k.a. Chucky, a.k.a. Jason from Friday the 13th, a.k.a. Jeepers Creepers, a.k.a. fucking 10th member of Slipknot and his gimmick. I don't see that as a fucking babyface, Bruce. I don't see Alexa Bliss using satanic imagery, fireballs, magic, black goo, witchcraft. I don't see that as being babyface, Bruce. What exactly are we doing here? You mean to tell me that I'm supposed to boo Randy Orton when Randy Orton has satanic witchcraft and fucking all this other shit happening to him? Fireballs being thrown, magic happening to Randy Orton? You want me to boo Randy Orton? You want me to cheer for the Fiend after all that? If that doesn't show you that this company is fucking utterly clueless, I don't know what is. I don't know what will make you see that. Unreal. I'll tell you what, folks, I'm cheering Randy Orton, even though I know this is a futile attempt. Bray Wyatt will more than likely down Randy Orton at WrestleMania. And my question is to all the Wyatt fucking Fiend idiots out there, the super fans, where exactly does Bray Wyatt go with this burned? Is he going to wrestle burned? What storyline are you going to put the burned Bray Wyatt in? Is he going to chase the WWE title? Yeah, because I'm fucking clamoring for a Drew McIntyre-Bray Wyatt feud. I can't wait. As if the Orton feud is any fucking different, right? Give me a break. This shit is fucking trash. Enough of the theatrics. Enough of the magic in my pro wrestling in 2021. We're not children anymore. And all you're doing with the young children of this generation is normalizing Satanism. Not really my cup of tea, Bruce. Finally, Randy Orton. This is an exclusive from Ringside News. Reportedly, he was in a bad way after Fastlane. Randy Orton had Alexa Bliss in a match at Fastlane. Since it's WWE, they obviously promoted an intergender match, but they couldn't touch each other. It wasn't really even a match. It was more theatrics and theater. That changed after the match was over, though. Hands were laid on the other. Bliss mounted Orton and straddled him for a pinfall after the Fiend returned and gave him Sister Abigail. Didn't take long for Randy Orton's wife, Kim, to send out an angry tweet aimed at Alexa Bliss. Ringside News has been told that the tweet from Randy Orton's wife was 100% a shoot. It was real, and she wasn't happy. Orton also received a bit of heat from his wife after the segment. Ringside News was told that he was in a bad way concerning how it went down. As we exclusively reported, says Ringside News, Randy Orton carries a lot of stroke backstage in regards to his angles. It is unclear who pitched that ending at Fastlane, but it was not well received at Camp Orton. So, let me get this straight. Randy Orton's wife is upset at the way Alexa Bliss pinned her husband. I get it. I also get that Randy Orton has a lot of stroke backstage. I get it. And I see, from Kim's point of view, why if Randy Orton has a lot of stroke and he was well aware of this ending, why he didn't say anything about that ending. Because in his wife's eyes, he knew what was going to happen. He knew very well what the ending of the match was going to be, and he allowed that to happen as if he wanted it and welcomed that to happen. Yes, it's acting. Yes, it's all scripted, but, I could see it from her point of view. I could also see it being a point of view of Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon and them being sick and perverted in their own ways, thinking that Alexa Bliss doing that to Randy Orton is the right move. They probably got a kick out of that. Disregarding Randy Orton's feelings altogether. Randy Orton probably didn't want to do it, and Vince said, no, that's what I want. And what is Randy Orton going to do? Not do it? He's not going to do what Vince McMahon tells him to do, right? There's just a lot of miscommunication there. Randy Orton was said to be in a bad way after all went down. A bad way meaning what? He was upset that his wife got upset about a proposed wrestling angle that he probably knew very well what the ending of the match was going to do. Or how the ending of the match was going to be. Can't blame him for being mad. He knew what was going to happen, and he let it go. Very weird situation with this Bray Wyatt Randy. I don't give a shit about anything. I really don't. The quicker it is over, the better. I'll tell you who's in a bad way. Us, for having to sit here and go through this shit. To be quite honest with you. Anyway, I'm getting out of here, guys. Thank you so much for all that you do for me. Appreciate you guys. If you want to leave me a comment down below, let me know what you guys think of everything that we talked about here on the podcast. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications. Follow me on Twitter at JDfromNY206, Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button, like I said. Go check out Critiques and Connoisseurs. And what else do I got? Advanced GG. Go and get your video game supplements, man. Awesome stuff. You could use it for literally anything. Advanced.gg. Use code SCRIPT at checkout for 10% off. And make sure you guys go and check out all the other videos that you might have missed on the channel. Guys, I'm getting out of here. I will see you back on Monday with a brand new week as we get closer and closer to WrestleMania week. Until then, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you right back here on Monday for Monday Night Raw and the live post show on Off the Script. See you guys then.